Mga kaigalan, welcome to On the Spot. I'm your host. My name is Jiggy Juice, and today we are going to be talking to a serial vagabond, a traveler, and also an author, the author of the book To Travel Like a Goat. I am talking about, of course, Mr. Denver Torres. Mayong adlaw nimo, Denver.
May hapon, Sir Jiggy, and may hapon sa imong mga tigpaminaw.
Kindly introduce yourself to our audience, kaning Denver. Who is Denver Torres?
Denver Torres is Cagayanon, born in Cagayan de Oro, but I'm based in Cebu. So Judge Domdom, if you know him, the former RTC judge, did ask me one time in a party, siya nga, asa imuhang we call this probinsya Denver. Ako nga, judge ka na, di ba ako taga Cebu, taga Cagayan de Oro, bi ako, pero since diri mo ko gabayad og tax, Cebuano na sad ko. So I consider myself Cebuano. Cebu is not just a second home, it's really home.
According to speaking of another person, another artist actually, Destiny Gilmo once said nga, to be a Cebuano is a decision.
Correct.
It's a choice, right?
Yes, I mean, I think that guy is right. And more than that, I think you become like a Cebuano or a Manileño or a Cagayanon mainly because of your intent to contribute to the place. Because to be affiliated to a place is a matter of contributing to the place.
Yeah, correct. Because contribution means you pay your taxes in that place. That's where you make your livelihood, right?
Correct. And it makes the city. So the taxes or any form of contribution, maybe it be through taxes or art or whatever, it makes the place as it as a city, as a we call this acquire its own we call this unique profile, so to speak.
Ako kaning Denver, if you don't mind, I'll call you Denver.
Yes, of course.
Or Den. I did not choose to become a Cebuano. I was born and raised here, right?
Yeah.
So of course I could have easily chosen another place in the Philippines or a place outside of the Philippines, but I chose to stay here. I would what my family would call the last patriot or the last idiot, depending on kinsa imong pangutanon, right? So akong sunod pangutanon nimo siguro Denver is nga naman, why did you choose Cebu?
So it was plainly a random decision. I had to go out of Cagayan de Oro because Cagayan de Oro could not offer me anything as far as for economic reasons. I couldn't get a job, and I always wanted a job that could pay to, because I'm a poor person. I came from a poor family. I had to look for a job that could sustain the things that I want in life, which is travel, and travel is expensive.
So, I've always believed nga an opportunity arises. You're given an opportunity to restart, to start anew, to start again in a new place, right? Because something happens man good to you when you've been in a place for a long time. You already know what can and cannot be done.
Yes.
You're already wise to the ways of
Yes.
the streets of maski asa ka nagpuyo. So mura kag mura og
Limited.
your vision becomes limited, right? So, and going to a new place, you're still very open
Yeah.
to what the place can offer you. What are your thoughts on that? And you who have decided to stay here in Cebu instead of Cagayan de Oro, who you think, we're personifying the place, who you think was not able to offer you anything? So my question
Cagayan
is,
de Oro?
you said you're from Cagayan de Oro
Cagayan de
originally,
Oro.
right? So akong pangutana ba, how much of that is the freshness of Cebu, and how much of that is real opportunity that you could not find in your original place? In hindsight, I think 2020 vision is always clearest, right? In hindsight, unsay tanaw nimo, like was it a real necessity to move to another place, or was it just because you were limited with your vision because you are so used to Cagayan de
Uh,
Oro? That's my question.
yeah, that's a very good question. I, honestly, there's really I haven't really thought of it that way. It was really just purely economics. Like I had to look for a job, a better paying job in Cebu. The artistic side of it, the creative side of it, came very later. Um, I think about a year, no, not very later. Actually, about a year later, I was invited or I joined the Paigao workshop. And then eventually I got introduced to the literary circles, and they're very welcoming. People in Cebu are very warm and very welcoming. They don't even ask you where you're from. They just, mingle with you. They just socialize with you. They help you actually, and I kind of like that. So the atmosphere in Cebu is very welcoming and nurturing as well. Because I did meet some of the doyen here, like Linda Alburo. They're like they're like
So
mothers to me.
Cebu opened their arms to
Yes.
Denver. You always mention in your book, and also during our conversation, you always associate yourself as a traveler, right? Uh,
Yes.
tell me about it, because we were just talking about it with the Ralph here, my partner, in the show. Do you like traveling? And we had like different points of view about traveling. I was telling him, I'm not really much of a traveler guy, but if somebody drags me to the airplane, I'll just fly with them. I'm not a traveler guy because I feel like the best part about traveling is the going home. Like mura kag kaning,
You're right about
you enjoy the place, you love the place, but you also you're always comparing it to home, right? And once you get back home, you have a new found appreciation of home. So that's what traveling to me is. But how about you? How and why are you a huge traveling or traveler, Denver?
Why am I a traveler?
Yeah, why do you love traveling?
Well, essentially, I think as an artist, you are, well, the way I look at it, no, as an artist, you are a traveler. You're a traveler, especially those that are in love with their memories or something that they cannot let go of their memories. Because for me, um, recalling a memory is also a form of travel. And it's the loneliest of travels, by the way, because not even the birds can accompany you there in when you think about your memories. So that also is a form of travel. So both physical and as well as remembering, those are actually forms of travel. And as a boy in Kamaman-an, I, I remember that I've always dreamt of places. Like I've always thought of um, seeing them, and so to a certain extent, I always thought that it's part of my destiny. And when I did actually did a research on why some people travel and some people don't, I'm not sure if this is answering the question, but I'm trying to um, share that I wrote about a piece on travel, and the kanang tinuuan na to nga na og naa kay alom sa tiil.
Oh, like a mole.
Yeah, a mole on my left foot. You are bound to travel. You are destined to
Lagan ka,
travel.
lagan.
Laagan ka. Oo. Mahilig ka bagdoy-bagdoy. So, and I think to a certain extent that's true. So maybe that's there's a destiny element to my being a traveler, and aside from also being naturally curious, and as an artist you always crave for new things, new materials, both consciously and unconsciously. So you kind of like go kay ako, sir, even I've been to in Cagayan de Oro, I have not been to a lot of barangays, but in Cebu I can say with certainty that I have been to like 80 barangays, both poblacion and non-poblacion barangay. I have been to Sinsin, which is the farthest barangay in Cebu.
Asa man ang Cincinnati sa Busay?
Further down, you can actually pass, you can go to Tap Tap, and then you can go to Bonbon ka na, silingan na sila. Dool na siya sa mga away ko, Toledo, ana nga mga.
So, why did you decide to travel to every single barangay in Cebu City, right?
Well, number one, it's beautiful. The barangays in the mountain barangays in Cebu are beautiful, and I also walk a lot because I try to manage my cholesterol. And so I do a walk. I walk around 10 kilometers to 12 kilometers, and I also like to walk alone because it gives me that time to talk to myself and you know think about the things that are important to me, which are usually not important to the world.
So you like walking because it allows you to think.
Yeah.
But of course, walking can only get you so far, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to ride a boat or an airplane. So do you also mostly walk around in the foreign places that you go to as well?
Often, yes. Yes, I just really love to wander the streets of, say, for example, in Paris, I was just mostly walking. Unless if I'm like, it's about, because they have a service hours there, so their restaurants are like open at certain time and they close at a certain time, and then service stops. So unless if I'm really running out of time, so I take the metro. Other than that, I'm just walking.
So you prefer walking. You're not the kind that wants to get like a kind of a package trip.
No, I have not tried that actually. I have been traveling since 2010, and since I actually moved to Cebu, and I never tried that. But I think there's something good about a package trip, but I'm yet to try it.
I'm curious about like what does traveling do to a person? At least what did traveling do to you?
Well, all forms of travel, it will change you. It changes you even if you travel from here to Busai, there will be a change. And sometimes it's not a conscious thing, and sometimes it's not very apparent, but it will change you more.
Like in what way?
I think that's a very hard question. In what way? I think you just become a better person. I think I haven't fully thought about this, the kind of change that you go through, but I'm just on a gut level. I just think that you really do change. For example, looking back in hindsight, a lot of my travels have actually led to revision of, preconceived notions. Like for example about China. So when I was in Shanghai last year, in 2024, I would actually assume that it's a very noisy place, it's a chaotic, very dirty place. But I was so surprised because even if I did travel to what you call this, like the suburban places in Shanghai, they're so clean. Like they would vacuum their streets there. Like, it's so surprising.
We were theorizing earlier nga the reason ko nga nung dili ko malingaw og travel, me personally, is that to be able to understand a place, you have to stay in that place for a relatively long period of time, maybe like 3 months, to really absorb
Yes.
the culture, the people. So we were saying earlier, nga, maybe you're doing traveling wrong, Jiggy. Maybe it's because you don't really absorb the place in a like a long duration. You only you go to a place and and then it's like, for example, you travel to multi countries, right? Like
Yes.
different countries, like, and you have to go back and then
Yeah.
leave. And then the stress of traveling actually does not allow you to
Yeah.
absorb. And of course, as the cliche would go, a place is more really about its people, right? And to be able to understand its people, its language, its culture, its art, it takes a long time.
You know what? You're not wrong about that. And that's a very acceptable way of looking at it. It does take a long time for you to know the place intimately, but there is actually a way to expedite it. And I feel that when I speak, that's why I never use map. I always
You never use maps?
yes, I don't. I use well, that's a lie. I do use it, but often I do ask people. So because it's a chance for me to talk to them. And actually just a single conversation of a local with a local actually would expedite your understanding of a place because it actually reverses a lot of things that are, like preconceived notions or biases, and it gives you that kind of like special insight about yourself more than anything, more than the place, about yourself and how you interact.
So you don't use maps, you just mangutana lang ka sa mga locals
Yes.
sa kalugar for directions.
Yes, yes, I do that, and even in cases that they don't speak your language, like they don't speak English, you can always use a translator. And the very act of using the translator, it's very revealing of the type of people they are, and that ultimately you can kind of like conclude that tao ra gyud itong tanan, like the desire to help, the desire to be nice and all that, like we're all connected by that, even if natay so we have varying issues, because in China I never thought of I never felt that they looked at me in a different light, like I'm a Filipino or Southeast Asian, or they just helped me because I was looking for help.
So wala pa ka giilad.
Wala pa, but there is one instance in all of my travels, and I was traveling with a friend here, Christine. She's my travel buddy. We actually got scammed sa Bali, which is a common thing actually, and we actually read about it. But for some reason, the realization was very late na. The following day na naman na-realize na kulang na mong kwarta.
Asa man kaning gisuklian
Money exchange.
sayop og exchange ang kwarta.
Yes. And then looking back, na-realize ako ko, that's why they had a very parang murag kuan kay nga rate ba, right? Murag kay nga ubos ra kayo nga rate sa or best na exchange rate compared sa lain. And that's probably the reason.
Is Bali true? Bali like there's something with in the water of Bali. Bali ba nga maglaim gyud imong tiyan daw.
Well, I've heard of the Mumbai or the Indian cities, but not the Bali. Wala man.
Wala. Okay ra ka dito.
Maybe because we stayed in.
How about in Paris? You just came from Paris a few days before this interview, right? Kaning makadugong matapirmi. In fact, I have a few of my brothers, actually my brother, who got robbed there. Kaning murgisnatchan ba, and Paris is I don't know, infamous for that. Is that true?
Not really. I mean, probably it is true for some, but if you actually go to touristic places, you just have to kind of like have that parang what do you call this? I think you just have to be attentive, and you just show that you are, you're watching them, you're watching everyone, because the moment you're looking up and then you're kind of like lost, people would actually try, and I think people tried, but because they probably saw me as someone who's very sure-footed or was very confident in the way I walk or the way I talk, then they wouldn't try. I think.
My advice to people who get scared of getting snatched, kanang maraban sila, is just wear good sneakers. Wear good sneakers, because the thieves will be scared of somebody who wears good sneakers, because they probably think kusog ni mudagan.
Or good bags. Good bags, because if you are actually wearing really good bags that they cannot slash, no, they won't. In Paris, I think they won't try to like snatch it from you. They would try to pickpocket you, because there are police everywhere. So they would really try to do something that is surreptitious or something that is not so apparent, but not the snatching. That's not common there. Because they will definitely be. I would not actually even, like in parks, even at night, I would actually pass through a group of like men who are who would look like they would not do anything good. And I'm not scared. I think ultimately because travel requires some certain courage actually to test things out. Like pag 'di ba like mo yun sila na
Especially traveling alone. So you do have a what you call a travel buddy, right?
sometimes, but often I'm traveling alone.
So isn't that kind of scary?
No, not at all. It offers a lot of benefit actually. Personally, as a writer or as an artist, it offers a lot of benefits because it allows you to to meet yourself, to
To
talk-
meet yourself.
to meet yourself.
Now that's a concept. How do you meet yourself and in the meeting of yourself, what did yourself say?
It's a fancy word for saying that you know when you travel, you get a lot of time to think about yourself and how you perceive the world, and how you see things. I think that's what I wanted to say.
You know, perceiving the world and thinking about the world is different when you actually write down those thoughts, right? Sometimes murag atong gihuna-huna coherent pananglitan. But when you write it down, murag it's not as coherent as you think it is. Now you're a traveler and also you're a writer at the same time. Have you had that kind of murag medyo dissonance ba nga imo ang gihuna-huna pagsuwat na nimo dili na mao murag you cannot express it fully in writing. It was just occupying a place in your head, space in your head, but murag dili siya ma-articulate in the same way that you thought about it.
Yeah. Well, these are two desperate things. Like the traveling is you're dealing with facts. You're dealing with the material world. So the appreciation is based on logic, reason, and all that. With the writing, on the other hand, because it's already you write it as a journal. That's fine. You're just translating the material world into journaling or a diary. But if you write it into an essay or a poetry or a short story, there is now a requirement for it to become an art. And in order for it to become an art, you have to follow the traditions of writing, and there are rules in writing. So therefore, the way you translate the material world into an art, into an essay, for in this case, you have to kind of like make some twists so that it becomes that kind of like a polished storytelling, so to speak, because you cannot just in toto translate what happened.
But have you ever felt nga imong gihuna-huna pananglitan nindot kayo to when it was in your mind, but when you wrote it down it's not as good as it was?
Not really.
Huh?
Like they always try.
Because they say magod this is a psychological discovery nga ingon sila nga eyewitness account is the worst kind of evidence because we always remember things wrong, you know.
Because we're biased.
Yeah, we're biased and we always remember things wrong. So akong pangutana is like, have you ever experienced that nga sa imong nauna mura og ing nato pagsuwat na nimo nanay kalahian ba dili na pareha bitaw?
Like, what do you mean? Like, am I frustrated by that?
No. Have you ever experienced that, and how do you feel about that?
Not really, because I've experienced that, but I'm not. But how do I say this? I've experienced that, but I have expectations that we remember differently at certain times, and so therefore I respect that, and therefore I'm prepared.
And aside from remembering things differently, and mura og since you're already far away from the memory, ang imong processing sa memory lahi na, di ba? There's also another factor that we have to consider also. We're also ever changing individuals also. We're also evolving. So that person that traveled to one place a year ago is no longer that person
Correct.
today, right? So you will probably have another memory, another reinterpretation of that trip a year ago, right?
Yes.
Sakto ba ko? Does that happen to you?
Yes, I think so, and that's okay. That's totally fine. I mean, because certain things, again, because I'm a believer in destiny.
Oh,
So
destiny.
yeah, so certain things maybe I don't write about my travel in Europe this year. Maybe I'll write about it in the next 5 years as an essay, as a poem. I don't know. It depends because there the way I look at it is that there's time for everything. There's really time for everything. So you can't force things. So I don't know. Did that answer your question?
So kung naa kay usa ka memory of a place nga maglain-lain di ay because of time and who you have become, di ba? So for example, kanang example na is when you write something down, especially for those people that journal a lot,
Yeah.
right? Makabantay sila nga murag usay ludoon sila akong kagalingon, magtanaw sila of the things that they believed in and they understood 10 years ago, 20 years ago, murag kinsa maning tawhana, wa mo kailan ani.
Oh.
Does that happen to you also?
Not really not in terms of what I have written, but in terms of the manner it was written. Meaning, I just get cringy on the technical element of it. Like I would say, I would judge it. I could have applied a different technique to
But
it.
how about things like your beliefs, pananglitan? Beliefs also change, di ba? Mag-usap-usap man imong pagtuo sa usa ka tawo, sa usa ka lugar, di ba?
No, because I respect that particular person, of me, a version of me in the past was what I believed in, and that's it. Basically, I have no regrets.
So you don't look at your past self with judgmental eyes.
No, because I mean, you have to be fair. You also understand that you've grown, and you've traveled in time, and you've changed, and a lot of elements have changed you. So no, I'm okay with that. I'm totally comfortable with all these things.
You mentioned destiny, Ganina. What do you mean by you're a believer of destiny? What sort of destiny are you talking about?
I'm a believer of destiny because 10 years ago or 15 years ago or so, I never thought I'd be able to publish any book actually, because in the Philippines that's very hard. But then I have 2 books now and I have a new one. I was actually in Europe because I was also trying to get time, to think about my 3rd book. And I was in Bibliothèque Mazarin. It's the oldest library in Paris. I was also doing some, what you call this, final edits to that particular book. It's a poetry book. And hopefully it will come out next year.
So you think it's destiny?
It's destiny. It's part of, everything happens because of destiny. I mean, what I'm saying is that you can plan, but if the place that, in the case of travel, won't allow you to come to that place, you won't be able to. Like, if Cebu didn't want me, I wouldn't be here. If Paris,
So do you feel like your road has already been carved already, and it's just a matter of you finding that road?
Yes, and pursuing it, because the thing that would hinder you is really more of your courage to pursue it. But in terms of
So did you write your destiny? What I mean is, you said you're destined to write a book, right? So was that like a kind of a prophecy? Did you prophesize your future self? Like, yun sa man nimo pagkaibaw nga you're destined to write a book. You wrote or you recorded the fact nga in pohon musuwat ka og libro niya nahitabo ra gyud.
no, it's something that you imagine. As a child, I've always imagined these things: traveling, the writing my works, and then coming up with a book. Actually, books, like lots of books.
So you already imagined that as a child.
Yes, I've kanang ingon nila nga kanang trending nga word nga manifesting. I've manifested it with in the 1980s or 1990s.
You know,
The word was not even a trend then.
um, in your book, To Travel Like a Goat, in I think this is the first chapter, Busai and
Nature
the nature of memory. You mentioned you were walking to Busai, um, and you murag nakadungan ka usa ka working
Salin boy.
student, a gas boy, and then you mentioned nga kaning you were talking about education ngunya naghisgot ang imuhang kastorya nga wala pa siya nakagraduate og college kuno, and you also cited some statistics nga in the Philippines. In the Philippine Statistics Authority report, 9% of the estimated 39.2% Filipinos are out of school children and youth. Unya daghang kay reasons nganong dili sila makahuman og kolehiyo.
That's right.
Marriage and family, lack of personal interest, high cost of education, and so on and so forth. So, medyo daghan kayo ang mga Filipino nga walay edukasyon pa.
Yeah.
Education has always been a huge part of the development of a nation, but imong tanaw our current problems as you see it now, do you think lack of education is a huge part of the equation of the problem?
Yes, most definitely. I mean, if you compare it with countries that have actually katong ni boom gid lang mga economies, that's because of their education. I mean, look at China. There was a certain time when, you know, they were very poor, and that's mainly because, well, there was famine, there was war, but also because there was lack of education. So yeah, it's truly a big deal even if you want a country to actually achieve its economic potential. You know, people has to go to school.
You mentioned here one of the advantages of living in Cebu is 1 minute you're in the bustling IT park, the next you're among the birds on top of a hill. So with all of the vehicular traffic now, if you notice, we're actually doing this interview at the side of the street. Surprisingly, there's no traffic yet, but it's still early afternoon, right? Or mid-afternoon. So is this still true to you?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that has not changed. And you know, this one is because we're in the center, but if you actually go to Busay and further, you'd experience a different world altogether.
And I think also your mode of traveling is different because you love walking, right?
I love walking.
So if you're in a car, if you're in a vehicle,
I don't know how to drive as well.
you have a Morakag, you have a of course added weight, diba? Because you can't go anywhere with a car. You can't
Yeah.
park. Like for example, now
Yeah.
I'm parked at the side of the road, and I hope nobody will pick up my car and tow it, right?
Yeah. So yeah, what's the question, sir? So you're asking?
No, there was no question.
sorry.
Yeah. So you also talked about your fears and inhibitions. You said this is the way we do every day. We tell ourselves so we can get past our inhibitions or fears, so we can proceed and survive the days of our lives. I think that's an evolutionary trait ba nga it better to be safe than to be sorry, right? Nga of course we are always navigating through this world with a bit of fear because we fear the unknown, di ba?
Yeah. Right. Yep. That's correct. I agree with that. Yeah, you mainly survive this world because you tell yourself that, you know, you can do it, you can survive. So it's really a matter of, you know, pep talk.
You mentioned in the book also that you're right because you're scared you might forget. Yeah. What did you mean by that?
Well, because when you grow old, you will forget, and because there will be a lot of things that would come to you um, diseases, um, and you will no longer be the same. So you will no longer remember. And because the capacity to remember requires a healthy body and a healthy mind. And if you no longer have that, you will forget. That's why I'm always in a rush to record things.
So what's wrong with forgetting?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Nothing really, except that I thought that we should all be concerned about our memories. We should all remember. Because I have a special bias about memories, especially personal memories. If we record them a lot, I think that will help us survive as a civilization. Because what will bring our downfall is the loss of
You mentioned that in the
memories.
book too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but certainly not all memories are useful, right? I mean, there's certain memories of, let's say, the memories of Einstein or Newton or Rizal, right? Like these are the memories that we recorded, and well, they were not written as memories. They were written as maybe in the case of Rizal, fiction, right? And in the case of the scientists, like scientific books, right?
Maybe that's a problem because we select. So maybe we shouldn't be more selective about it. Maybe we because that's actually you know the idea of importance is actually you know a certain biased perspective
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
because you think that that's say for example Einstein's memory is more precious than the memory of a tendera in Carbon. I don't think so. I have a very different view.
But if the memory is for, let's just say, society building,
Yeah.
you know, if the memory is if the purpose of the memory is to improve upon it, right? Maybe there are people that are more important than others. But at the end of the day, kung ano na ang gid nimo, these people, these great people that we are talking about, and also those regular people that you mentioned, from Einstein to the Tandera, at the end of the day, give it 1,000 years, nobody will have any memory, recollection of these people, right? I mean, like, kana magaling mga ngilngi kayo sa tanan, like we were rarely talk about them in the present tense, diba? Murag, and very few people forget about them. Remember them, I mean, like,
Yes.
diba? Gambay na kayo atong hinumduman.
Ultimately, yes, I think you're concerned about the idea of limited space, which is true. I mean, we cannot accommodate everyone or everything, but I just thought that, you know, but I just thought that everyone's memory is very important, and I think there should be an avenue for us to kind of like record them. I don't know how, but in my case, I do record mine. I'm a very simple man, a poor person. I'm a nobody technically, but I do have the courage to produce the book, which contains my memory and the memory of those I have interacted, and most of them are very ordinary people.
Nagisgot ka nga, it took you a lot of cajoling, it took you a lot of encouragement to finally write a book, right?
Yeah. To
wha-
produce.
to produce a book. So why was that? Why was that?
Well, because I'm insecure about the production, the quality of the book. I'm not so sure if it would measure up. I'm not sure if I'm offering something new or even relevant. It's a personal thing. I don't know. I wasn't sure.
There is a kind of self-belief
Yeah.
in doing this podcast, right?
Yeah.
Murag kinsa man ko nganong naamo ko yung microphone sa akong atubangan nganong nagtuo man ko nga ako ang gibuhat karong adlaw. Nay gamit,
matter, yes.
nay gamit, nay importansya, nay ganahan mo tan-aw, di ba? So there is a kind of self-belief. There's a kind of delusion.
Yeah.
I would even venture in saying that in doing whatever it is that we do. So maybe the question here is how did delusion contribute to you finally writing a book?
Eh, well, maybe 50%. Well, yeah, I agree with you. Delusion is part of it. Yeah, thinking that what we have it would matter. what we can offer, what everything would matter to people. Yeah, that's surely the case. But I think what really pushed me from a parang quality perspective, I'd say, because dili daghan kayong tao or writer ga storya about sa local. Like I'm there, I talked about say Lotbe or I talked about Bosai, tangentially or otherwise, but I spoke about them. Like they they kind of like existed once more. Like because ingon nila nga the a certain place or certain thing becomes more real when you write about them.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
And when you wrote about Busai, that's where I go every single day
Yeah.
because our station is at Tops, right? So I can actually definitely relate to what you're talking about. That's why that's the first thing that I wanted to
Right.
discuss. It's also the first chapter, right, of
it's the
your
first, yeah,
first chapter.
first
You
chapter.
also mentioned in your chapter notes on memories. We are in the era of honesty. I was saying out loud. I beg to disagree. We are in the era of fake news, right? We're in the era of treachery, of kind of AI and kind of deep fakes and all of that stuff. What did you mean when you say we are in the era of honesty?
Era of honesty in the sense that there's a lot of book production on um, memory writing. Like if you notice, there's a lot of personal essays that are being produced, with possible exception in Japan. Um,
So you're saying there's like a murag global trend of
Yes.
writing about first-hand experiences.
yes, there's that.
What do you call the genre in book writing?
Um,
Is that a genre? No.
no, yes, the genre is essay.
Essay. Okay.
Yeah, but then it's the subgenre is the personal writing
Okay.
or memory writing or memoir. Sorry.
Memoirs. Yeah. So this is a kind of a kind of a memoir, right?
Yeah, yeah, sort of. But although this one, I'd like the reader to think of it as an occasional prose writings that I compiled. So these are the essays I wrote from 2015 to 2019. A lot of them have appeared in Sunstar Weekend. Thanks to Noel Villaflor for accepting them. But these ones are the enhanced version.
You also mentioned in your book, it's going back to the basics, to the truth. Kanang word nga truth now is actually very fraught, di ba? Murag,
Yeah.
I have your truth and you have
Yeah.
my truth. I have my truth and you have your truth, and so on and so forth, right? What do you mean exactly when you speak of truth?
So the context of that notes was really about the memoir writing. So because in writing a memoir, you are the right because the writer is actually bound to tell the truth as he perceive it. So that's it. Going back to the memoir writing is really going back to the truth. It's a kind of a raw writing, I'd say.
But does it have to be true? Does it have to be true when you write it? What I mean is, when you observe something like, for example, this tree beside us, when you write about it, why is it important for it to be true? You could be mistaken that this tree that we're looking at is actually just, let's just say, cement. That made it look like a tree, but in your own
Yeah.
perception, it was a tree, a living tree, right? So why is it important for it to be true? And when it's true, is it only true to you, the writer, or is it also true to the reader as well?
It's always so in the case of memoir writing, it's always an aspiration of the truth, your personal truth. So it's always a personal truth, and it's really up to the reader or the audience to participate or whether they agree or not.
Because truth is such a contentious word now.
Yes.
I think if you don't mind, I will extract you a little bit from
Yeah.
your book and the context in which you wrote truth in your book. Sa imong personal life, like how do you define truth?
Truth, I think, how do I define it?
Makaingon ka sa, let's just say, mobasa ka sa imong social media feeds.
Ah.
O niya, makaingon ka nga, dili ni tinuod. Tinuod ni like, unsa man imong basis, why do you automatically think that something is true or something is not? Like, what's your style maybe perhaps, or what's your kaning lenses? What lenses do you use?
So truth, therefore, based sa imuhang giingon, is a summary of all the things that you have seen. No, because when you judge, for example, in the case of a Facebook post, for example, when you judge that, it's a summary of what you believe, what you have heard, what you have seen, what you have been told, and what are your values. So it's a summary of all those things, I suppose.
So, and then you make a kind of conclusion, right?
Yeah, but it depends on the use, really. For example, if I'm a journalist and if I'm actually appreciating a post, there is a very technical approach to it, like how you fact check and all that, how you validate and cross check things. But when you are just being you and you are not attached to certain institution or certain titles, like you're not a journalist, you're not part of a station or something, there would be just, you would just be, okay, ganahan ko dili, or no, or di ko mo agree. It's just more of a like or I don't like.
How important to you? How important is truth to you? I asked that question because you mentioned in the book that you're kind of superstitious, di ba?
Yes.
Magdadakaw kaning garlic, di ba, to fend off the snakes,
Yes.
di ba? And all of that stuff. And I think I noticed the kind of murag medyo totoohon ka ba? Like, so you're very superstitious.
You're
In fact, you mentioned just in the beginning you believe in destiny, right?
Yes.
So how do you square what truth is and all of your superstitions?
Well, humans are complex beings. We believe in certain things and sometimes we don't believe in certain things. I think that's just really it.
So both can exist in your
Exist.
mind. You're
And I have no problem with that.
you're a truth seeker, but you're also superstitious at the same time.
Yeah, truth in a sense, it's always the case of truth is always something that is useful, something that helps you survive. That's
So if it doesn't help you, it's not truth.
it does. It's always truth because it will help other people survive.
So if it doesn't help other people and if it doesn't help you, it's not true.
So again, because the idea of truth and the definition of truth is something that can vary from one person to another. So therefore, if that truth helps me survive, then that's the truth for me. And that's maybe
So if something
so
helps
there
you
is
survive,
no one truth.
but sorry.
I don't
But in your case, your relationship with truth is kung it helps you survive, then it's true for you.
Yes, it's always like that. It's always a case of something that helps you move on, something that keeps you going. Because if it's not, then that's not really useful at all. That's not true.
Maybe it's true that this thing can kill you.
Huh?
Maybe it's true that this thing can kill you, because as opposed to it's true because it helps you survive.
Yeah.
Maybe it's also true that something can kill you, and it's also true.
Yeah. I mean, survive in a sense, sir, that not in a I don't know. Survive in a sense that how do I say this? Like it makes you go on.
Okay.
Like it helps you. It's more of like a mindset, I think.
So if an idea allows you to continue on this thing called life and not want to give up, it's probably true.
Yes. Yeah. Ultimately, I think it's that.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but
Ultimately, sige. ultimately, what do you want to get out of writing? Is it to uncover a truth? Is it just because you don't want to forget them? Like ultimately, why does Denver Torres write, and why did you write To Travel Like a Goat and other essays?
Um, yes, I don't get asked that question often, but I write because well, feels good, makes me want to survive,
Okay.
makes me want to go on.
Okay.
I think ultimately that's it. Uh, and I think as an artist, you you don't want to be just known as an artist. You really have to produce because there's a lot of people I know like they they think that they're an artist but they don't produce. There's no work, and I'm scared of that. That's what I'm scared. Like people call because people already called me. Yeah, you're an artist. You're a writer. You're a poet. And then there's that kind of like pressure that oh my god they've been calling me that, but I don't have a work to present to the world to prove to the world. So now I'm really rushing because I'm old. I'm 42, and I need to make sure that
You live up to your artist billing.
yeah, because they already called me that. So there's also that kind of social pressure. I don't know, but ultimately, personally, I've been writing. I think because it's liberating. It has liberated me from a lot of things. Actually, I never. Well, I had a very difficult childhood, and because and that's not very easy to I don't know. It's not that I want to carry my hard or my um, ugly memories, but it's just really there. I can't get rid of them, so manage them through writing.
So it's kind of like a therapy for you.
A therapy, yes, yes, that's an appropriate term.
You know, I also stumbled upon. I think it was victims of poor translation. And naghisgot ka nga how ang mga Bisaya ma-misinterpret sa mga non-Bisaya speaking
People.
people, right? And the example that you gave was when there was a presidential debate involving, I think it was Ma
Ma
Rojas and a few other candidates and Rodrigo Duterte, di ba? And Digong said something like "Hilom dia" or something like that, right? And then people were kind of judging him as being rude, right? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, di ba kay kung mga Bisaya, moingon magud ta nga pagilom di oy. Because not because we want to embarrass the person. Ang reason gid namin tag pagilom di oy kay because we want to stop the humiliation of that person, because obviously we can tell that that person is not in the right, or is not talking or making sense. So that's really it.
So I am not pro or against anyone. I'm not actually very active when it comes to my politics ba. But ang si former President Duterte also uses putang ina a lot, right? And that's Tagalog, right?
Yeah.
And maybe he really is that person that you were kind of trying to not the word inside hide, but to justify because of his being a Bisaya. Maybe he really does want to come across as that person.
As what? Like yeah.
Crude. Like he really wants to, like when he said kaning paghilom di oy, maybe he really wanted to be that person.
He maybe wanted to be rude, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's also possible. It's an interpretation, of how, and also I think it's also being fair because ingon ana man gid siguro ta ana mga Bisaya makadungog mo ko on an everyday basis nga murag medyo harsh gid atong language, pero that doesn't mean nga mauna na iyang meaning, no, kay kanang
You're making a distinction, man, good, between the Tagalogs and the Bisaya in a
Not
way, di ba?
really.
Or whatever dialect, right? So you're making a Bisaya as a kind of a
Yeah.
harsh language compared to the other languages,
Yeah,
but like again, the example, the pusang iring example that I gave you earlier, right? I don't have to utter it again. It's also a very harsh, more expletive, right?
Yeah, it is. But maybe I did not focus on that. Maybe I focused on that specific information, and I did also highlight some of other usage of the Bisaya, which tells us about the poetic quality of the language. So I think it's just really a way of putting things together.
Ako ba, ang nakabantay ka, nga ako ang binisaya, medyo apiki gyud, di ba? Dili jud kay kumayo mo binisaya. And
I did not notice.
And ikaw sad, I noticed nga when you wrote your book, it was purely and mostly in English, di ba?
Yeah.
So kana imong admiration sa language nga binisaya, ningon ka nga poetic, full of hyperbole, as you stated in the book, like, but we're not very good at it. You and me, and maybe a lot of people are not very good at it. In fact, we probably have stopped learning it. Ikaw, like, how do you feel about that, and why are you writing in English? Do you hope one day to write in Binisaya as well?
I'm really glad you asked that, sir. Thank you. So, but for the record, I am published as a poet in Bisaya magazine. I write in Bisaya.
Okay.
I feel I'm capable of writing in the Bisayan language. I just feel that lisod siya. Mas lisod siya sa English. So,
Lisod siya for you personally, technically, or lisod siya basahon sa mga tao?
no,
Siguro.
sa technical side of it, lisod siya as a writer for me because daghan kayo writers good nga local na na I need for in order for me to be fair and in order for me to write something that is worthwhile, I need to make sure that I study them all first. And the thing about writing in English, because I took language and literature in college, so I'm familiar with the literary productions of the West, and to a certain extent the Philippine literature in English, because I've studied them. So I have kind of like a general grasp of the whole thing. With the Bisaya, I'm struggling with that. So that's why I had to put it on hold, because murag na-intimidate ko sa pagsuwat sa Bisaya. So kana siya gid ang main reason. But it's a very beautiful language, and how I wish to write in it in the future.
So is there like a school that we can go to? Is there like a course, anyway, like a book maybe perhaps for us to learn more about our native language in Cebu?
Yeah, I believe so. The University of San Carlos, I think they have a Cebuano Studies Center where we can, do a lot of research. I'm just not sure what are the current courses they are offering in terms of Cebuano language, but I'm sure there are. Hope you is actually an expert in the Cebuano language.
I already showed you my favorite lines in the book. How about you? What's your favorite line or phrase in the book that you can read for us before we wrap this up?
Oh, sige.
Yeah.
I'll probably
And maybe you can give us a kind of a morag explanation why it's your favorite, at least one of your favorite lines in the book.
sige.
Travel like a goat. And I'll also ask you, anong goat man? Anong kanding man yun? Why travel like a goat? Kaya kanang goat man good, in our lexicon in 2025 is the greatest of all time. The goat, di ba? In sports, di ba? The goat. So nganong goat man, anong kanding man good of all animals? Anong goat man?
It's because I traveled to Vietnam in Ninh Binh, and it was my first time to actually see goat would climb up steep karst mountain, if that's how we can call it, mountain. And na-amaze ko sa ana nga skill.
Okay.
Because, obviously I was
But it could also easily mean greatest of all time, right? Travel like a goat.
not really. I wasn't thinking about that. I was really thinking about goats.
But
And-
what I mean by to the to the audience ba? I mean, it could mean that, nga,
Yeah.
travel like you know what you're doing, right?
Yeah. Oh wow, that's a different
yeah.
perspective. I haven't thought of that, but
Yeah.
yeah, that could also be it. Yeah, to travel like a goat. So there's a passage from uh, an essay called "Paddling Silot Bay," and
Where is Silot Bay?
Silot Bay is in Liloan.
Okay.
So I know there's this sad thing that happened to their place.
So maybe we can read that part, and maybe we can read it and dedicate it to our friends in Liloan, right?
Liloan, yes. So yeah, so siguro dire, page 32. And then my first memory of the sea took over. I was on the shore of Makahalar Bay. I watched my father turn into a dot as he swam farther away from me, the waves licking my feet. Just like in other times, the memory revealed nothing more than that scene, a fragment of memory that feels incomplete. This specific memory of mine seems to be telling me to fill in the blanks, to construct the scenes around it, or to reconstruct it according to my liking, or to make it meaningful and useful. It is as if some of our memories insist to remain because they are meant to be enhanced or modified for future use, to help its bearer survive the harshness of the so-called truths and realities. That's it.
Wow.
Like, because, I've always wondered, why is it that there are some memories that they don't go? Like, they really remain, like, even after, like, 40 years or so, they're still as fresh. And when you remember them, they're always like that. And then, I mean, what's the purpose of that? Like, do we add? Do we enhance them?
Yeah, and I also noticed we have no control over what we remember,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Muraog, that's why I'm not a big fan of control of illusion of control, because I sincerely feel we can't even control what we think. We didn't even get and control. Denver was not. You didn't choose your name. I didn't choose my name.
Correct.
So there's so many things we have no control over,
Correct.
and our thoughts, like, if we pronounced our thoughts, if we said them, they'll probably going to land you in jail, right? Some of them, right?
Yes. You know what? Maybe unconsciously we don't have, but memories, according to neuroscience and what I've read of it, you remember most of those things that have very strong emotional component. So maybe that's why I remember, because my father was at that time was still friendly to me, and then the later years he was not. So maybe it was a special memory for me, but although not consciously, maybe it was unconscious. And but I think about it, maybe it's that, maybe because it has a very strong emotional component.
You mentioned your father
A lot.
here in this book, right?
And in other settings.
And you also mentioned how what is that, like, forgiveness, and it was snatched away from you, the memories, or so. Can you expound that? What was without having to give them some spoilers? Maybe you can speak to that a little bit. Like, what was snatched from you?
Because I really grew up as a child, and throughout my teenage years, I was really angry, and I was angry with my father. I was angry with us being poor and everything, and the way he treated me. But when he died, everything was gone. Like, everything was gone. And And that's a very surprising thing for me because I thought I'd always have, because the memory kept on reappearing. They're still there. Like I still remember them. But the anger component is kind of like removed. So that's for me kind of like very interesting. Like how is this possible? I remember everything except the anger. Like the anger is no more there, and I don't know. I felt uncomfortable without the anger because I was so used to it, and it made me kind of like survive the days of my life being angry. But but because it was gone, now I was disoriented. That's it. It's a I don't know. Maybe that really is a gift in a way, a gift to the one who departs, and the gift who to the people who are left behind. So I don't know. The world is a very fantastic place.
And of course, you are just trying to capture some of that magic
Yeah.
in this book, right?
Yes.
And hopefully, you guys will also capture that fantastic world that the author has written. To Travel Like a Goat and other essays, Denver Torres, ladies and gentlemen, daghang salamat, Denver.
Thank you kayo, Sir
It's
Jiggy.
so exciting, and it's so kaning uh, illuminating to talk to somebody like you and to have such a personal a story in disguised in essays and in traveling. But I feel you. I think I understand now why you're right, and I hope our listeners and viewers also will do the same. Daghang salamat, ladies and gentlemen. Denver Torres. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Sir,
you.
salamat tayo, sir.